Britain jumps up international maths rankings following Chinese-style teaching.
Britain jumps up international math rankings following Chinese-style teaching. Britain jumps up international math ranking following Chinese-style teaching.
Britain has jumped up international rankings for maths following government efforts to import Chinese-style teaching into the classroom.
Britain has jumped up international rankings for math following government efforts to import Chinese-style teaching into the classroom. Britain has jumped up international rankings for maths following government efforts to import Chinese-style teaching into the classroom. Britain has jumped up international rankings.
The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago, in the Programme for International Student Assessment, PISA, league table.
The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago in the Programme of International Student Assessment PISA league table. The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago in the Programme for International Student Assessment PISA league table.
The PISA tests, which are administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, were taken by 79 countries last year.
The PISA tests, which are administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, were taken by 79 countries last year. The PISA tests, which are administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, were taken by 79 countries last year.
The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour tests.
The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour tests. The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour tests.
Last year, the UK scored an average of 502 points in mathematics, up from 492 in 2015.
Last year, the UK scored an average of 502 points in mathematics, up from 492 in 2015.
Within the UK, the average score for maths among English pupils, 504, was significantly higher than scores for Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the Department for Education said.
Within the UK, the average score for maths among English pupils, 504, was significantly higher than scores for Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the Department for Education said. Within the UK, the average score for maths among English pupils, 504, was significantly higher than scores for Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the Department for Education said.
Experts have said that ministers' attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK's test results. Countries in the Far East have long come at the top of the league tables for maths.
Experts have said that ministers' attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK's test results. Countries in the Far East have long come at the top of the league tables for maths. Experts have said that ministers' attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK's test results. Countries in the Far East have long come at the top of the league tables for maths.
Professor Valsa Kashi, an expert in maths education at Brunel University, said, "Importing maths teaching from Far Eastern countries means there has been an emphasis on children needing to master the basic facts and traditional skills, such as times tables. This used to be laughed at as too old-fashioned."
Professor Valsa Kashi, an expert in maths education at Brunel University, said importing maths teaching from Far Eastern countries means there has been an emphasis on children needing to master the basic facts and traditional skills such as timetables. This used to be laughed at as too old-fashioned.
In 2014, the DFE set up an exchange program between English and Shanghai schools so that maths teachers could learn about Chinese teaching methods.
In 2014, the DFE set up an exchange program between English and Shanghai schools so that maths teachers could learn about Chinese teaching methods. In 2014, the DFE set up an exchange program between English and Shanghai schools so that maths teachers could learn about Chinese teaching methods.
The program was followed 2 years later by a £41 million project to train thousands of primary schools to adopt the Shanghai style, also known as the Maths Mastery Approach. Britain jumps up into...
The program was followed 2 years later by a £41 million project to train thousands of primary schools to adopt the Shanghai style, also known as the Math Mastery Approach. Britain jumps up international math ranking following Chinese-style teaching ranking 排名排位 the ranking 排名表 the ranking of students. She is now 5th in the world ranking. Britain has jumped up international ranking for maths following government efforts to import Chinese-style teaching into the classroom. 在什么什么以后，由于He took charge of the family business. Following the president's speech, there will be a few minutes for questions. He took charge of the family business following his father's death. After, import 进口输入引进 import something from, import something into, customs imported from the West. The country has to import most of its raw material. The country has to import most of its raw material. The country has to import most of its raw material. The country has to import most of its raw material. The country has to import most of its raw material. Customs imported from the West. Import 名词，进口商品，进口输入物，引进物。A ban of beef imports. The beetle is thought to be a European import. Export 出口 export. The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago, in the Program for International Student Assessment (PISA) League Table. Assessment 评定评价估计 written exams and other forms of assessment, evaluation, assessment 评定 written exams and other forms of assessment, league table. The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago into the Program for International Student Assessment PISA League Table. The PISA tests, which are administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, were taken by 79 countries last year. Administer 施行执行 Administer justice the law. The questionnaire was administered by training interviewers. Execute, carry out, test, take tests, administer justice the law. The questionnaire was administered by trained interviewers. The questionnaire was administered by trained interviewers. Execute, carry out, 执行实行 administer. Take test, 参加考试 The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour test. Carry out, execute, implement, 实行进行实施执行使生效实施 administer, involve 涉及影响 These charges will involve everyone on the staff. There have been 4 accidents involving Foster Services planes. Implicate 涉及影响 affect, implicate, involve 包含需要 Running your own business usually involves working long hours. Include, entail, running your own business usually involves working long hours. Involves, try to involve as many children as possible in the game. Parents should involve themselves in their child's education. Engage, 参与参加 The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour tests. Last year, the UK scored an average of 502 points in mathematics, up from 492 in 2015 score. 在比赛或运动中考试中得分 He has scored 12 goals so far this season. Girls usually scored highly in language exam, gain, win scores. A high, low score, a perfect score, point mark. Within the UK, the average score for maths among English pupils 504 was significantly higher than scores for Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the Department for Education said. Pupil 小学生有用于英式英语。小学生 about 20 pupils study music here. Student experts have said that ministers' attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK's test results. Attempt 企图努力尝试 attempt to do something, attempt at something, at the first, second attempt Make no attempt to do something. Try, emulate, imitate, 效仿、模仿。Drive up 是上升的 oil shortage drove gas prices up by 20 cents a gallon. Drive down. Experts have said that ministers' attempt to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK test results. Experts have said 后接宾语从句 that ministers attempts test results. 宾语从句的主语是 ministers attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods. 所主语的补足语谓语部分是 be likely to do something. Professor Varska Koshi, an expert in math education at Brunel University, said importing maths teaching from Far Eastern countries means there has been an emphasis on children needing to master the basic facts and traditional skills such as timetable. This used to be laughed at as too old-fashioned. Emphasis 强调重视重要性 emphasis upon something 强调重视 lay emphasis upon something lay emphasis on something place emphasis upon something. The report emphasized the importance of improving safety standard stress. Timetable. He's 12-year-old and still doesn't know his three times tables. Old-fashioned. He's 12-year-old and still doesn't know his three times table. Old-fashioned. Old-fashioned farming methods. Data. Old-fashioned farming methods. Data. Times table. 乘法表 Old-fashioned 过时的 Professor Varsky, an expert in math education at Brunel University, said importing math teaching from Far Eastern countries means 做插入语起同谓语作用，谓语是 said， 后面部分是句子的宾语，宾语部分是主句是 importing math means， 从句是省略 that 的宾语从句。There has been an emphasis on children needing to master the basic facts and traditional skills such as timetables. In 2014, the DFE set up an exchange program being English and Shanghai schools so that math teachers could learn about Chinese teaching methods. Set up, arrange for, 安排策划 arrange for, arrangement. The program was followed 2 years later by a £41 million project to train thousands of primary schools to adopt the Shanghai style, also known as the Maths Master approach. Master 精通熟练的 mastery. She has mastery of several language command. Approach to something, approach to doing something, way.
Britain jumps up international maths rankings following Chinese-style teaching. Britain has jumped up international rankings for maths following government efforts to import Chinese-style teaching into the classroom. The UK came 18th, up from 27th 3 years ago, in the Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, league table. The PISA tests, which are administered by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, were taken by 79 countries last year. The assessment is carried out every 3 years and involves more than 500,000 15-year-olds across the globe taking 2-hour tests. Last year, the UK scored an average of 502 points in mathematics, up from 492 in 2015. Within the UK, the average score for maths among English pupils, 504, was significantly higher than scores for Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, the Department for Education said. Experts have said that ministers' attempts to emulate Chinese teaching methods are likely to have driven up the UK's test results. Countries in the Far East have long come at the top of the league tables for maths. Professor Valsa Kashi, an expert in maths education at Brunel University, said, importing maths teaching from Far Eastern countries means there has been an emphasis on children needing to master the basic facts and traditional skills, such as times tables. This used to be laughed at as too old-fashioned. In 2014, the DFE set up an exchange program between English and Shanghai schools so that maths teachers could learn about Chinese teaching methods. The program was followed 2 years later by a £41 million project to train thousands of primary schools to adopt the Shanghai style, also known as the Maths Mastery Approach. Thieves have targeted a 900-year-old church before making off with a charity pot containing less than 200 pounds. Vicar Nathan Ward said the break-in at St. Margaret's Church in Raynham won't dampen spirits ahead of the church's busy Christmas season. Mr. Ward said he found the 900-year-old building had been ransacked sometime on Saturday night. A stained-glass window, said to be about 100 years old, was smashed, and surrounding stonework damaged during the break-in. We've been serving local people for 900 years, Mr. Ward told the Telegraph. If people need help, you don't need to break in. We'll help you. That's the tragedy of it all. Doors and cupboards inside the church office had been searched, with damage estimated to be up to £10,000. Police said they were called to the church at 7:40 on Sunday morning, and were also responding to a break-in at nearby church St. Thomas of Canterbury in London Road. The sad thing is that they have seriously damaged one of our old stained glass windows, and they seem to have taken very little. There is almost no money kept in the church in any case, Mr. Ward said. The church made arrangements for worshippers to attend other services in the local area, as the police started their inquiries and expected services to resume on Sunday evening. This is a season where we especially think of those whose lives have taken a wrong turn and would welcome an opportunity to meet with those involved so we can help and support them. We bear no ill will. Kent Police said inquiries into both break-ins were ongoing and appealed for anybody with information to come forward.